You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, presented by the only one media group. This is the people's choice for quality interviews, celebrities and special guests. Hosted by Demetrius Dinny Reynolds. Call in to join the mix at 701-801-9813. For the complete archive of episodes, visit onlyonemediagroup.com and be sure to like us on Facebook at Vigilantes Radio. We welcome all. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds. Enjoy the show.
Hi guys, this is Vigilantes Radio, and I am your host, dini-mussolini. So I just want to welcome you guys to another awesome episode, and I can't wait to get this particular episode to you guys, or this particular interview to you guys. This is a pre-recorded show for this particular one, but hey, we still have fun on our pre-recorded show, so no worries at all. Trust. So who do you trust? How many people trust you? If someone promised to do something, they might do it, and then they might not. There are a lot of promises flying around these days. Promises which are only kept if it continues to serve the interests of the person making the promise. A conditional promise is worth a little bit more than nothing at all. Trust is more meaningful. Trust is not created overnight, and it does not come out of thin air. It is built over years of dependable experience. A person who can be trusted is a person who is dependable, is valuable in any endeavor, okay? Customers will willingly pay more to do business with someone they trust. Employers will pay higher salaries to keep people around that they trust. Being trustworthy and dependable, besides being an honorable way to live, has measurable material advantages in business and in life. When people trust you, doors open to you, opportunities come to you. Can you be trusted? Would you trust yourself? Be trustworthy and dependable. And the best people with the best connections, the best resources, the best opportunities, the best jobs, and the best business contracts will seek you out. It is well worth it to be worthy of trust. So, take that from me, dini-mussolini. That is my word, and word is bond.
You're live in the mix. Let's get this started.
Yo, hello, and welcome to another awesome episode of Inside the Music, or the book, or film, or even the business, where we dive into the minds of the people who create these marvelous things. It feels so good to be back with you guys once again. Big ups to my folks who are indigos, crystalline, or the starseeds, for my Vigilantes audience family, for my hooligans, and shout out to my people who are vegetarian or vegans. If you're in a struggle like me, we are averaging over 37,000 live listeners, and we've been at this for 5 solid years. I appreciate all you guys who've been rocking with the kid on this journey, and we are still evolving, baby. It is all because of you, most definitely. We are the people who have dedicated their lives to music, spirituality, business, literature, art, films, and research in every aspect. And we want to allow you an opportunity to tell your story. Man, we've had celebrities on our show, from Grammy Award-winning artists, nominees, to actors, comedians, CEOs, technology revolutionaries, visual artists, from authors to professors, and vampires. Or people who think they're vampires. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. Come on our show and talk to me. So check it out to book your interview or to appear on my other show called Skeptics. Email me at vradio@onlyonemediagroup.com, and that's V as in Victor. We hope to get the stories behind these unique people and give them a chance to tell their truth to us and the universe. That is Vigilantes Radio sole purpose. You know the number to dial, 701-801-9813. Share that number with your buddy right now and tell them to tune in to connect with us or our guests, or you can hop in the mix directly from our website, which is onlyonemediagroup.com. Right from the home page, you can slap that go live button and you'll be here live in the mix and in the chat room with all of us. So feel free to shoot over some questions to ask our guests while they are here, but only as time permits. Sometimes my guests and I talk entirely too much. And as always, all episodes are available for free download, and you can grab them from either Spreaker.com/onlyonemediagroup, iTunes, Player.fm, YouTube, any app from the Google Play or iTunes Store, or over at our website. And that goes for every single episode that we've ever aired.
Well, today's interview on this beautiful Saturday is the Just Do It Afraid interview number 2. Oh yeah. Vigilantes Radio interviews go beyond the businesses, the aspirations, the music, the films, and into the minds of the people who create it. From researching our special guest, mining for details, reading, watching, and listening to everything that we can, our interviews are designed to bring out the best answers possible through thought-provoking questions that have real substance. Our special guest today is Dr. Linda-Barthelus. So with that, let's go ahead and get her on here. Dr. Linda, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Dini?
Doing great. It's a pleasure to speak with you again.
Yes, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All right, guys. So, dealing with student loans can be very overwhelming and confusing. I deal with one myself. And when things get complicated, you might want a professional to answer some of your most pressing student loan questions. So this morning, we have the pleasure to be here with the superhero, Dr. Linda-Barthelus, for a second time. She's a two-time vigilante. She's a life skill instructor, a mentor, and the founder of Just Do It Afraid. So we got some questions, guys, and I hope she can deliver the answers. So if you mind, Dr. Linda, we can, just start with some basic questions. First one being, can student loans actually be discharged in a bankruptcy?
Typically, not as easy as it can. Credit cards can, and other non-secured debt, but it can. It's hard, but it can be. Okay. Typically, you have to really show that there is undue hardship, where there's just no way you can repay the loans. But it is difficult. You would definitely need an attorney who is versed in that area. Not all attorneys are. But It has happened, yes.
Okay. Because for some reason, Dr. Linda, it seems like filing Chapter 13 or any kind of bankruptcy notion has been very heavy lately. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if it's people trying to get out of student loans. I'm not saying that, bankruptcy is a way to get out of, paying debts, but and it's been coming with young families, and I know a lot of those young families are just ending college and can't really find a job with their degree, so they got a lot of debt on their hands. Have you seen that?
What I've seen is not necessarily filing bankruptcy. in regards to student loans because it's difficult to do that, and it's also difficult to discharge it. There are allocations made through the federal student aid program where loans can be discharged, but again, that is difficult. You have to show a mountain of proof. But what I have seen is increase in bankruptcy for other type of non-secured debt, credit cards, medical bills, and so forth. And you understand with the way the medical industry is here in this country, a slight chronic illness can really put a whole family under in terms of finances. So, yes, what I do see is increase in bankruptcy in that area. And typically it's because, there's a lot of reasons. We're not educated in high school, for example, on how to manage finances. And then when we go to college, we pay all this money, and you still graduate with whatever degree and still don't know how to manage your money, how to understand finances, financial terms, and so forth. So, yes, you can get in trouble. And then when you get with someone, get married or whatever, who is in the same boat as you, and don't know any better, and so forth, it creates a mountain of a problem. And then you raise children where they're learning your poor financial skills or a lack of it or whatever. So it snowballs. So, yes, I can see, especially with young families. Matter of fact, I see people delaying having families, to be honest. College students, they're delaying having families because of that. And then the ones that do come together, that is a big problem for them. It affects their marriages, their relationship, because eventually finances, I've read, is one of the biggest reasons for breakup, stress in the relationship and so forth. So, consumer debt, especially the unsecured credit cards, medical bills, personal loans taken out, owing money to loan sharks or cash payment places, where people are taking out high interest type loans, from shady places. So, and that's because they're desperate too, or they can't manage their money. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think last time you were here, we discussed a little bit of the miseducation of our youth, and some things that are not taught in school that Just Do It Afraid kind of bridges the gap with that.
Yeah, that's the main reason I started Just Do It Afraid. I do a lot of talking to young adults. And when I say young adults, usually start around 16, 17, start with their parents asking me to talk to them, not just myself, but my sisters. We do it, more on an ad hoc basis. And we decide to create a platform, something a little more formal, Just Do It Afraid. But I find people rather just come up to me and start talking to me rather than get on sign up for something, whatever, which I'm trying to understand why, but they're more comfortable doing it face-to-face, sitting down and so forth. Plus, I manage my staff, about 15 young adults, and they're in their 20s, and you think sometimes what's affecting their work is that they just don't want to be at work or whatever. It's life issues, they don't really know what to do with their life. So a lot of times they come to my office just to say, hey, can I talk to you about XYZ? And it always takes me by surprise what they want to talk about. It's something personal, about I don't know what to study. I don't know what's going on with my money. I get paid. I don't know where everything's going, or this is happening or that. So guidance is needed, And what's so funny is they're surrounded by so much information on the internet. They live on the internet, social media, and surrounded by friends and family. But for whatever reason, they want an objective voice where they can just kind of bounce off ideas, get clarity, and then from that is where I started realizing there's a big increasing need to understand student loans, whether it's federal or private loans.
Yeah, right on. So, what are some of the rights that students have as a borrower?
Just like anytime you borrow money, whether it's from a bank or you take out a credit card, you fill out the credit card application, you have rights. It's not just the creditor or the credit card company that has rights. You have rights as a borrower. And some of the rights as a student loan borrower whether it's private or federal, but federal is very, very explicit, and they enforce it, which is good. And I promote federal loans over private loans any day. But the terms of the loan is one of the biggest things. You have to understand the terms of the loan, and when you take out a loan, it is explained to you. What is the interest rate? When do repayments start? How is payment supposed to be made? Notification when payment is due, sufficient notification. Repayment options, make that very clear and easily available where borrowers can understand the different options they have and what type of repayment plans they can choose. And also, if they're having difficulty making their payments, there is forbearance where they're having a period where they don't have to make payments. So that is another right that they have versus, let's say, a private student loan holder, a borrower. That is guaranteed under the federal program. Forbearance, deferment, if a borrower continues their education, as long as they're attending half-time at a college or going towards a degree program, a post-secondary degree program of some sort, they can get a deferment, meaning they do not have to make payment on their student loans. Okay, and then the right to dispute. You start with your loan servicer. You disagree with a loan amount or the balance of a loan or whatever the reason may be. You have the right to dispute. And if you're not agreeing with your loan servicer, they're not really giving you a resolution, there is the next level where you can go to the Federal Student Aid Ombudsman Group. And that's an impartial group at the Federal Student Aid level. And when I say Federal Student Aid, that's an agency, an office of Department of Education, the U.S. Department of Education. So there's a group where you can go to that, but you have to start with the loan servicer, document everything. Everything should be in writing. If you mail copies, make sure it's not the originals, make sure it's certified mail, that type of thing, Right. But there are a lot of protections for federal student loan borrowers. And a lot of times borrowers don't know that, They just think, I owe this money and there's no hope. But there is protection. That's why I have faith in it. I can confidently say to people, yes, borrow money if you need it for college through the Federal Student Aid Program. Okay.
Definitely. I like that. That's some great information there. So what are some of the options, though, if a student is facing default? And how does Just Do It Afraid see us through those?
Okay. I'm dealing with actually two people right now where one is in default and one has been notified that they will be in default. So if you're notified that you're going to be in default, you're not in default yet, immediately, what I advise is talk to the loan servicer. And when I say loan servicer, I want to make sure people understand you have your lender, the agency that actually lends the money, the loan. So that's through Federal Student Aid. The loan program is called direct loans. It goes through the subsidized Stafford versus unsubsidized Stafford loans, so types of loans. So direct loans under the Federal Student Aid Agency, is the lender, right? The loan servicer are companies that direct loans through Federal Student Aid hires to manage the billing side of the loans that borrowers borrow. Okay, so they hire companies to do the managing of the billing. So they're the ones, loan servicers would be the ones that send out the bills, notify you if you're going to go into default, remind you, you have different options to repay, that type of thing. So they're the first people they should talk to. So notification of possibly going into default, you're getting that from the loan servicer, basically saying, hey, we haven't heard from you, what's going on, you owe these funds, you're not in deferment, you didn't ask for forbearance, what's going on, you're at risk of going into default. Now, what does it mean when you're going into default? It means you have decided to not make any payments on loans that are due, okay, and you're not protected under a forbearance or deferment. That's basically what that is. So you leave yourself open to being negatively, credit-wise, attacked, okay? And they have the right. The loan servicer, the lender, has the right to say, you're in default because you are making no attempt whatsoever to repay these loans or to protect yourself in terms of under a forbearance or deferment, and so forth. So, and I tell people there's no reason why you should be in default for federal student loans. There's way too many options. So what Just Do It Afraid does, we provide you information. Okay, if you're about to be in default, we look at the situation. I talk to you and say, where are you financially? Usually it's because you really can't afford it. Maybe you don't have a job. Maybe the job you have is not paying that much. Maybe you do have a job. It's a good paying job, but a crisis hits your family, and your funds have to go elsewhere. I've heard it all. And it's perfectly normal. You need to communicate. That's the thing. A lot of people do not communicate when they owe bills with their lenders and so forth. They just avoid it. The bills are sent in the mail, you get emails, and they just avoid it. And a lot of that's because of fear. They're fear. They don't know what to say. They're afraid. They're not too sure. So that's one of the things I educate them. This is what you say. This is what you explain. And you speak with confidence. There's no need to be ashamed. No need to be, intimidated. The person you might be talking to on the other end might be going through the same thing, if not worse.
Yep.
So, so that's what I explain to those facing default. Be honest, pick up the phone, start talking, and whatever they tell you, take notes, okay? And then what happens, too, is once you've done that, come back and talk to me. Come back and talk to us, and let's see what the options are. For one person, they were too scared, and their English weren't too good, so I was on the phone with them. I will not represent anyone by myself, but they can make the call, and I'm on the other line, conference in. They give me permission to speak to the loan service on their behalf while they're on the phone themselves on the other line. I've done that as well, because sometimes no matter how much you educate someone, they don't know what words to use. They don't know what to say, how to say it, and the other thing too, I have found some of the representatives of many of the loan servicing companies. You need to educate them. As to this is what I want, this is what I expect, because they might think, okay, this is what you should get. And if you don't know your rights, you don't know what's available, taking time to read what your rights are, they may lead you astray. Not intentionally, I wouldn't say intentionally, but just sometimes they interpret your situation incorrectly. So that's what I would do. Speak up, if you're facing default. Do not wait for it to happen. Speak up. You can stop it before it gets to the default status.
Right. And you said you kind of tag team with them instead of just doing all the work yourself, right?
Yeah. Most of the time, I tell them what to do. And I like to give people steps. I'll say, step one, here's who your loan servicer is. There's more than one loan servicer out there. Fed Loan Servicing is one of them. Great Lakes is another one. So whoever you're assigned, make sure you know who that is. If you're not sure, one thing I had to do for one young man who was already in the phone, he didn't know who his loan servicer is. I'm like, okay, let's look at the papers that you've received. What have you received in the mail? So he's shuffling, I'm listening on the phone, and I'm like, okay, can you upload it to me? And this is all done through a private chat, okay? Private chat. He uploads it to me, so he has the capability of doing that. And while we're talking, I'm reviewing his forms. and I see who the loan servicer is, because you see a lot of numbers, a lot of different contact information. They don't make it as easy. They try, I have to say. Federal Student Aid, if you go on their website, they try to make it as easy as possible for you to understand, create a user-friendly website, but it still intimidates people,
Right.
So I reviewed his form, and I said, okay, step one, here's your loan servicer, okay? And I explained to him what a loan servicer is. And I say, step two, this is what you need to say when you call them, okay? And these are what I expect you to hear them say, okay? And then step three, here are your options, and based on what you told me, I think this option would be good for you. What do you think? And if they were in agreement, we go back and forth, talking about, then we say, okay, this is what you tell them you want, and so forth. So I give step by step. That's with me not getting on the line with them, okay? Now, if they absolutely do not want to do it on their own, they're too scared. English is not their first language, so they have a heavy accent, and that right there is a hindrance. Then if they ask, I say, no problem. I never want to intrude more than necessary, okay? Because at the end of the day, you want people to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. But in the beginning, they're going to need help. Some of them will need help. So I don't mind doing that. And there's no extra cost for that. I really care about people getting out of that bind.
Right.
There's nothing wrong having student loan debt. You could buy a home, you could still have a very vibrant life and everything. The problem is if it gets over your head and you don't know what to do, you get in default, everything comes to screeching halt for you.
Definitely. And what are your own experiences with your own student loans?
Well, I had student loans. I have 5 sisters who have student loans, but I first started understanding student loans when I worked at my undergraduate college as a admissions counselor. So I dealt with the admission side, but I had friends who worked in financial aid department. So I began to understand, and that was eons ago. I won't tell you how long ago, but that was eons ago. And I started understanding what's available out there, how the program works, what are the rights, what's the responsibility. And that was just me as a student working at my college. Then I became a financial aid advisor for a college, associate degree, 2-year college. And I did that for about 3 years. And that's when I learned the ins and outs of what's involved in the federal student aid program. So as a student myself, as a financial aid advisor, on the other end, understanding how the program works, actually dealing with federal student aid department, U.S. Department of Education, helping people fill out the financial aid application, what information is needed to determine qualification for federal student aid. That not only includes student loans, but also grants, work study, and whatever else. And so that's my experience. And then now I'm mentoring many of these young adults in college, those considering college, even talking to parents, because they don't have a clue either. And when people hear loans, they're scared, how will I remember one parent said to me, my son barely wants to get out of bed. All he wants to do is play Xbox, and you're telling me the government is going to give him $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 in loans to go to college. What if he can't pay this money back? What happens? I mean, what if he can't have a job? These are legitimate questions, You're looking at the child now who barely wants to do anything. But you have a government who has faith in that child. If he goes through college, learn a viable skill, get a degree where he could become competent out there in society to be able to repay the loans. And the other thing a lot of them don't understand, you don't repay everything at one time. It's month to month, and you have years to repay. So that's my history. I started very young. understanding college, the whole college process, admissions, registering for classes, taking classes that are necessary and not the unnecessary classes. That's another thing, too, that decreases how much you need to borrow. Know what you want to study. Wasting time, taking classes that doesn't make sense, you're paying for this, which a lot of times are covered with financial aid, typically student loans. And then me working at financial aid advisor at a 2-year college for almost 3 years. And then now I work for a community college where I have staff who talks to students who are starting out, parents, current students, those who have graduated. So I've seen the whole spectrum, from the beginning on all sides, and even myself having student loans, managing it, knowing the rights and responsibilities and so forth.
Right on. Okay. And I've heard that the world of private student loans is far more complicated and that entities can actually sue you. How true is that?
It's true.
Oh, wow.
And one of the main reasons is because unlike the federal student aid program, which is structured, right, organized under an established federal government agency, okay, U.S. Department of Education, and within that department, that branch, there's a federal agency, which is federal student aid. It's completely organized or structured, and it's governed by federal law. So there's less chance of craziness happening. Now, when you go and borrow money, student loan, to a bank or other financial institution, I mean, anything can happen. It's like going out there and just getting a personal loan. You go from bank A, you get a personal loan. They have certain expectations and certain terms. And then you go to a credit union. They have their own expectations, right? You still have rights as a borrower, but there's stringency. There's terms such as if you don't pay back, within a certain period of time and so forth, they can take you to court. They can sue you. They can whatever. All of that, happens. And I tell people to stay away from private student loans as much as possible. Stay away. And one of the ways to do that is start your first 2 years. Unless you win a scholarship, you have a scholarship for expensive 4-year school. Start your first 2 years at a community college, which is more affordable. Okay? You don't have to go straight to a 4-year school where it's very expensive and so forth. And if you are going to go to a 4-year school, go within your state where you can get in-state tuition. In-state rates instead of out-of-state rates. These are the things a lot of parents and young adults don't know when they're getting out of high school. Save 2 years of expenses by going to community college. I know students who attend community college, with the little job that they work, they're able to pay for their college tuition because the in-state tuition rates for community college is very inexpensive in many states. And then the 2 years after that, you transfer. And if you do it right, you go in as a junior. And then you have just those 2 years to worry about, Right. But if you go to an expensive university, out-of-state, private university, or even, some state colleges are very expensive too. That's where the federal student aid loans are not enough. And then a lot of students have to turn around and get private student loans to be able to meet the extra costs. And that's a slippery slope. It really is. There isn't a lot of ramifications for students. For example, federal student loans, you can claim forbearance. You can choose different repayment options. While you're in school, you're in deferment. A lot of private student loans don't have those kinds of protections. They'll let you pay interest only, pay only the interest for a period of time, and then after that, they say, okay, it's time to start paying the interest and on the principal as well. So there goes your book payments ballooning. There's no grace period a lot of times. It's really tricky. I tell people avoid private student loans as much as possible. And I can't really comment too much on it because, there's no set structured private student loan program out there. Every bank, company, financial institution that lends students money under private umbrella has their own terms. Whereas the federal student program, it's structured, it's common, so it's easy to understand what the rights are, what the responsibilities are, and so forth. If you have both, I've had people where they have both federal and private and they can't pay both. I say you need to take care of that private loan first. You have to.
Right.
See if you can postpone the federal student loan payments as much as possible and just throw all kinds of money towards the private student loans to pay this thing off, because it won't disappear. It will not. If you have to work 2 jobs, do what you have to do. Live with your parents, live in their basement, and pay those private student loans off.
Definitely. Okay. So, do you help student loan borrowers get their loans discharged?
I provide the information on what would constitute or create a situation for their loans to be dischargeable. And when you say discharge, we're not talking about bankruptcy. Federal student aid program has an option where loans can be discharged. Here's one, where someone becomes physically disabled. They're unable to perform in the field that they studied. For example, let's say the person studied physical therapy, so that requires them to use their hands to, assist patients and to do moves and walk them around, whatever. This person is now completely disabled. They're in a wheelchair. They can't move themselves, or they have severe rheumatoid arthritis or whatever. Okay, all of that needs documentation, of course, from a medical professional. Then showing proof, to say, hey, based on what I've studied, I'm unable to perform in this role, in this profession. So that's an opportunity for the federal student loan folks to say, yeah, this can be discharged. Another area is if you've attended a school that's unaccredited. Okay, for example, ITT. I don't know if you remember, a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, ITT had to shut its doors. And this came when the federal U.S. Department of Education realized that most of the graduates of ITT weren't working in the field that they studied. And a lot of them were burdened down with student loans, and they were unable to get jobs out there. So the schools, when they receive Title IV funding, which is the federal student aid funds that go to students, the schools have a standard that they need to maintain. One of the things they look at is the graduation rate and what happens with these graduates. Are these graduates better off? So you have someone who studied, let's say, information technology under ITT. They graduate. The goal is for them to be working in that field. But what they found was many of them couldn't get jobs in that field. The credentials from ITT, for example, was not opening doors for them. So that means there was a problem with the reputation, the accreditation, or even the coursework itself, or the quality of learning the student received from ITT. So based on that, they decided to no longer extend Title IV funding, federal student aid funding, to ITT. The day that decision was made, ITT closed its doors. That left a lot of these students who were in the ITT programs in a lurch. So if those students had taken out student loans during that, while attending the program, the college closed, they would not be held responsible for those loans. So those loans can be discharged. So there are different, policies and things that are allocated for loans to be discharged. And we're not talking about bankruptcy court here. This is a program where loans can be discharged, loans can be canceled, because of some of those factors.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So there has to be a cause, I guess you say, cause and effect. But what are some of the biggest issues you see that student loan borrowers face, and how can they combat those issues?
The biggest one is lack of knowledge. That's the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
They don't understand what they're signing when they take out these loans. They're giddy. They got into a 4-year school, right? College. They see this big bill, tuition bill, and the financial aid advisor says to them, well, here's how much you qualify for. All these loans, and then maybe you got grants and maybe a few scholarships or whatever. Just sign here, and you'll be taken care of. Don't worry about the loans. You don't have to start paying them back until you graduate. That's all they know. They don't think about the repercussions after they graduate, how much they're borrowing every semester. Okay, fall semester, spring semester, summer semester. If you have a winter semester, you're borrowing money. Okay, so lack of knowledge, understanding what they're getting into, understanding financial terms. What is an interest rate? This rate that is the cost of borrowing money. They don't understand that. Okay, and the field that you're studying. Let's say you're going to go into art. I'm not down in art because we need it. It makes life, pleasant and enjoyable. Everybody can't be doctors or whatever, but we do know for a fact you graduate with an art degree, let's say in music or whatever, right? It may be a little difficult for you to have sufficient funds early on, if not sometimes years, for you to be able to pay where you need to live, take care of your living expenses, and also make payments on student loans. That's another thing they don't think about. People, you read a lot. Follow your passion. Do what you love. Sometimes what you love in the beginning will not pay the bill, including those student loans. You might have to study something if you're taking out these loans that will be able to keep the lights on, pay where you live, pay for your car, and also those loans. So that's another thing. Really understanding how you're going to pay these loans back based on the decision you make in terms of what you're going to study. I even talk to students about that, Another thing I'd say is, why go to some very expensive school to study business? Unless you want to work for some top company like Google and so forth. But the majority of people do not. They don't get into these companies. So if you're studying accounting, for example, you're studying, finance, you go to a good state school. That's good enough, rather than going to some top private school and then you still get a job where, maybe you're working for some little private sector company paying you, minimum or just mediocre salary. But then you have the gigantic student loans you have to pay back because you went to some fancy school. Now, if you're going and studying medical, in the medical field, you want to become a doctor, a pharmacist. I've spoken to people like that. It's important that you go to some top school because it helps you when you have to get into medical school or law school or and such, right? Then that's different. And when you graduate, you're a medical doctor. You have the income to be able to start paying back those loans. So that's the type of thing I explain to parents, to young adults. Sometimes they want to go to these fancy schools where all their friends are going. But those fancy schools, expensive, especially the private ones, are expensive for no reason. No reason. So a lot of times what these student loan borrowers are facing is, number one, lack of knowledge. They didn't understand what they were going into. Now they have to pay the piper in terms of paying each month, looking at these huge student loans amount. And the interest is accruing. It doesn't stay that amount of, that you borrowed. The interest accrues. So the balance increases, every quarter. So I tell people, take time to educate yourself. Ask questions. Now, one of the concerns a lot of them have is they don't know what questions to ask. And if they do ask the questions, they don't know how to articulate themselves well enough. And that's one thing we help too. So I don't just help when you're already a student loan borrower. I help before you become a student loan borrower. Explain the process. How does it work? And so forth. I usually give mostly the parents that will take the time to figure that out, in church or whatever. They come up to me and I schedule an appointment or whatever, but they don't really understand how it works. Finances in general, people don't understand money. They don't understand financial terms, so that's difficult in and of itself. But breaking it down where they understand this is what your child is going to get into, this is what you really should consider. What are they trying to study? Art? They're trying to just liberal arts, general studies. They're not too sure. Maybe they want to be a teacher, elementary education teacher. Well, there's no need to go to the private college. Let them start at a 2-year community college. Of course, some people think if a person goes to a 2-year community college, it's a negative thing or whatever. But community colleges tend to have a negative connotation about it. You couldn't get into a 4-year school, so you're at this 2-year school. It's changing. That's not the case. You're saving money the first 2 years, So that's what I educate the parents on. But the student loan borrowers, those who are already borrowers, I explain to them, hey, there's no reason for you to be overwhelmed with your student loans. I don't care how much it is. There's no reason. There are different repayment plans out there, repayment plans that are based on the income you make. It's not based on the amount of the loan, but the amount of income you make. It's called income-driven loans, repayment plans, income-driven repayment plans. So, for example, one of the repayment plans, the payee repayment plan, looks at your income, 10% of your adjusted gross income, then they subtract a certain amount for your state poverty line, divide that by 12, and those are your payments. They don't look at the amount of the loan whatsoever, And there's several repayment plans like that. That's why I tell people, just because you make a little bit of money, that doesn't mean you can't pay your loans back. I've known people where they had over $100,000 in student loans, and their payment was just $50, because at the time, based on their adjusted gross income and everything else that is deducted in that calculation, that's the amount they can pay, and it counts. And this person was able to buy a home, they were able to get a car. Life doesn't stop because you have student loans. I think people, think that it does. You just have to manage it effectively, So, and that's what's the beauty of federal student loans. Those repayment plans work for your benefit, for the borrower's benefit.
Right on. Totally agree. So consolidation, as I understand, can produce excellent benefits on the right candidate's financial portfolio, but it can also wreak long-term havoc on the wrong candidate's financial portfolio as well. Help us understand what exactly consolidation is.
When you're talking about, anytime you hear the word consolidate, you mean you're bringing different parts and making it into one, right? That's what we mean by consolidate. Taking different parts that are separated and you bring them and they become one. When you're talking about loan consolidation, that's what you're also doing. Imagine when you first started as a freshman, right? You attended community college. Let's use that example, first 2 years. So you took out student loans your freshman year, your sophomore year. So those are loans right there. Then you go to 4-year university to complete your junior and senior year. So you take out loans from there, okay? Then let's say you want to go for your master's, okay? And that's another school. Maybe it's the same school, but it's a different program a little bit because it's now graduate loans. So you take out more loans and so forth. And people do that all the time. When you graduate, when you're done attending college or a graduate program, and you're ready to start working and so forth, you have all these loans. Those are all multiple loans out there. What you want to be able to do is to take all the subsidized loans, bring them all together, and create one loan. All the unsubsidized loans, bring them all together and create one loan. Okay? So you make one payment towards both the subsidized and unsubsidized. Not two payments, but one payment. And it's best when you're tracking, okay, those loans. So you have 5 unsubsidized loans, for example. When you create a loan consolidation, it's all now under direct loan, loan consolidation for subsidized loans. It becomes one loan, okay? You don't see multiple little loans here and there, okay, which are subsidized. And then the unsubsidized, the same thing. You cannot combine subsidized and unsubsidized together. There are two separate types of loans, okay? But when you make a payment, it goes towards both consolidated loans for the subsidized and unsubsidized. What's the pros of consolidating the loans? Easier to manage, right? So that's the biggest thing. It's easier to manage. There's no loan sitting out there in some school that you forgot you attended and so forth. Everything is under one umbrella. So that helps better tracking, easier to manage everything. And I always recommend it. I highly recommend it. What people tend to say, though, is the interest rate, because the interest rate is then averaged. So you may have had student loan when you were a freshman and the interest rate was 3.25, and when you were in grad school it jumped to 7 point something, okay? And when it's combined, it's no longer the 3 point anything, it's an average, which is a little higher. So people are like, well, I end up paying more, the interest rate, the average interest rate went higher and so forth. I mean, that's all well and good if you want to, if you care about that, and if you can pay the balance off very quickly. But for most people, the interest rate is the least of the concern. They need to be able to track those payments, track those loans. So if one loan was 3.25 and another was 7, and then, average together it comes out to 4 or 5% or whatever it is, I don't think that's a big deal. I really don't think so. But for some people that is the case. I think that's the only real issue with consolidating the student loans. Yeah.
Okay. And I know you spoke on this a little bit earlier, but why should families always consider utilizing federal subsidized Stanford loans?
Yeah. There's subsidized loans, Stafford loans, and unsubsidized Stafford loans. Okay? They're both federal student loans. Okay? Subsidized Stafford loans, while the student is in school, and during that 6-month grace period after they separate. Notice I use the word separate, not necessarily graduate. They don't care if you graduate or not. It's nice. But when you stop attending, 6 months from the time you stop attending, they give you 6 months. It's called the grace period. So while the student is in school and during that 6-month grace period, the interest that is accruing on the subsidized loan is paid by the government. You don't have to worry about the interest charges accruing on that loan. Okay? It's paid by the government. It's not tacked on at the end of the loan, nothing like that. So that's a good loan to have. Okay? Basically, you're getting a loan that costs you nothing. That's the subsidized loan. The unsubsidized loan, the interest starts to accrue once all the funds has been dispersed, meaning posted to your account. Okay? And it accrues month to month, but you can, and they give you the opportunity to pay on a quarterly basis. They send you a little notice that says this is not a bill, but this is how much interest has accrued on your unsubsidized loans. Do you want to pay it? If not, they'll just tack it on to the principal of the loan, okay, the balance of the loan. I always recommend students, if you have a little job, and I recommend students work while you're in college. Maybe the first semester or second semester in your freshman year, you want to get acclimated with college. It might be too difficult. Yeah, I understand that. Once you hit sophomore year, you need to start getting a little job, Okay? And when you get a little notice like that, it might be $30, $50 is the interest per quarter. Pay it. Pay it off. Okay? Because if you don't, and you don't have to, but if you don't, they're going to add it to the balance of your loan. So by the time you graduate and it's time to start repaying, you'll notice that your unsubsidized loan balance has increased. And it's increased because of the interest charges that they've been tapping on. So the best loan, if you have a choice, and people ask me that all the time, should I get the subsidized loan or the unsubsidized? I'm like, max out the subsidized loan. It's the best loan to have, okay? And if you need the unsubsidized, still the federal loan, you could tap into that as well.
Right on, definitely. All right. Well, we are at that part of the show again. Of course, this part is very optional to you, and it is our hot seat. Would you like to participate this time?
Sure.
All right. So, guys, after the music break, just going to catch our breaths for a minute. It'll be time for our usual tradition. It's called the hot seat, and our fans love this part of this segment, of course, along with the actual interview. But the audience get a chance to hear Miss Linda, or Dr. Linda, provide us with some vocals, poetry, inspirational speeches, freestyle raps, joke stories, live instruments. Well, you never know what these special guests, these creative minds and vessels were produced in the spotlight, and today we'll find out if Dr. Linda-barthelus has what it takes to be put on the spot of testing for true artistry and maybe even some hidden talents. But for right now, we have JRS3 with his song, Thank You. We'll be right back.
Sometimes people come around in our life, but we don't realize they were sent for a reason. Don't take for granted that you're given only what you need. Are you home alone, tired of being strong? Baby girl, we can be strong together. I'm staring at my Google phone with Google eyes, hoping you text me with a surprise. To my surprise, I'm so afraid. Never I had to deal with something so real. This feeling I feel when I see ya, I just wanna be near ya. When you walk away, I don't know what to say. You're sitting so heavily, I'm tracking it so heavily. The one before you was never so true. I'm open, I'm fresh, I wanna do this right. Tonight I won't sleep, my head is down, my heart is on my sleeve.
Lady, can you see I'm wounded, we can take me in, so this new relationship can begin.
Being strong, baby girl, we can be strong together. I'm staring at my Google phone with Google eyes, hoping you text me with a surprise. To my surprise, I'm so afraid. Never I had to deal with something so real. This feeling I feel when I see ya, I just wanna be near ya. When you walk away, I don't know what to say. You're sitting so heavily, I'm tracking it so heavily. The one before you was never so true. I'm open, I'm fresh, I wanna do this right. Tonight I won't sleep, my head is down, my heart is on my sleeve.
Lady, can you see I'm wounded, we can take me in, so this new relationship can begin.
This song is about meeting that person that changes everything. It's a little difficult to deal, but all you can do is be submissive. If you can't relate, I hope one day you will. Best wishes.
Like I'm missing, oh yeah, man. Thank goodness that I found you when I'm around you. It's like I'm missing, oh yeah, man. Thank goodness that I found you when I'm around you. It's like I'm missing. Baby, I just wanna say thank you. Baby, I just wanna say thank you.
just wanna say, I just wanna say, thank you. I just wanna say, I just wanna say, thank you. Baby, I just wanna say, thank you. Baby, I just wanna say, thank you.
All right, and we are back. That was JRS3 with this song, Thank You. If you want to support, there's a link in the show notes or description of this episode. So all you have to do is click the link. And these links are hyperlink, whether you listen to our show on iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Podcast Addict, Player FM, Listen Notes, all of the podcast apps and platforms that you check out your podcast, whatever's your favorite, we are there, and those links are hyperlink. All right, so the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your thoughts and the quality of your actions. If your thoughts are petty, and side note, I'm a Gemini, so I do have a side of pettiness. I don't display it, it's a daily fight every day. Not that I like to be petty, but sometimes seeing things on social media just warrant a very sarcastic and smart remark. But hey, I refrain from doing so. It's a struggle though, but anyway, so your thoughts can be petty, cynical, and your life will be filled with frustration and regret. If the action you take are the minimum you needed to get by, then you'll always be just barely getting by. When your thoughts are positive and expansive, your actions are bold and determined, you will live with abundance and fulfillment. Quality of life is not based so much on what you have. Rather, it depends on how you choose to view and what you choose to do. Think of every moment as an opportunity. Act with purpose, direction, enthusiasm, and commitment. Every little thought, every little action combines to determine the quality of your life. Every day is a chance to create, by what you think and what you do, the best person you can be. Take that from me, dini-mussolini. That is my word, and word is bond. So for right now, let's bring back the woman of the moment, dr-linda-barthelus. You're back with me, and in my hot seat. So.
Well, I just wanted to kind of inspirationally leave off, especially with the new year coming, being around the corner, right? It's always an opportunity to start fresh, look back at what happened the previous year and a new year coming up. One quote, and I use that as the motto for Just Do It Afraid, that I want to first say is by Marie Curie. She's a physicist and chemist, Nobel Prize winner in physics and chemistry. And she says, nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. And when I really thought that through, and I said, it's true. We can't go through life fearful. And why are we afraid? Because a lot of times we don't understand something. We don't understand the situation, or we don't understand what's happening. Taking the time to really understand what's happening. And within this topic here we're talking about, people are afraid of the debt that they have. It could be student loan debt, but it could be other debt as well. Maybe it's medical, whatever. Don't be afraid. Okay, that's why I named our business Just Do It Afraid. Get up. And the key 3 words I have is learn, take time to learn. And how do you learn? You get educated by reading, by doing research, right? And you can learn formally and informally. Okay, formally you go to college or take a class, but informally you do your own research. You don't have to go through something to learn. You can watch, understand other people's experiences, what they've gone through. Maybe your own parents or your own neighbors and so forth, and learn from there. So that's one. The next step after you learn is to take time to understand what you learn. And a lot of times that means asking questions. Okay? Ask questions. And who do you ask questions? People of authority, people who are subject matter experts, people you know that will have the answers. And get answers from different people, not just one. That's one thing Just Do It Afraid is available to do. We're here where you can ask your questions. No one's going to laugh at you. No one's going to, make you feel small. And we make it easy for you to do so. And then once you understand, take action. Put what you learn and understand into action. Okay? So, very, very important. Don't be afraid of life, especially in the United States. There's so much opportunity, so much. And I hate seeing young adults being depressed, being down. There's a high population of them who are anxious about life, who are depressed about life. And I think a lot of times because they look at what others have, whether it's on social media, they're reading these magazines about celebrities, I tell them to turn it off. Turn it all off. And focus on you, focus on what you have. You'll be surprised at what you have. You're already blessed compared to other people in the other worlds, other countries out there. Okay? What you have, a lot of times you can start something with. You have a computer, you could start a little business. You have health, you can go to school and earn an income of some sort. So look at what you have. Work with what you have, but focus on stepping forward and learning more and understanding more. Do not look at what others have. Only you can do that if it can inspire you. But if you feel that you're getting depressed, you're getting anxious, why is my life this way? I'm 28 years old, I'm not going anywhere. Do something about it. And with this new year coming up, I want you to remember, don't be afraid about life. There's nothing in life you should be afraid about. Just take time to understand what you're going through, why you are the way you are, why you're in the situation that you're in financially and any other case. And then do something about it. Figure out how to do something about it. And we're here at Just Do It Afraid. We make it simple for you to be mentored, to get advice. Our monthly guidance, for monthly guidance, is just $5 a month. Many of the people I talk to, I see them face-to-face, so they don't even go through that process. They prefer the face-to-face. But for those hearing my voice, I'm all, I can't do the face-to-face. Get on our website, $5 per month. And people ask me, why do you think it's so cheap? Because I want everybody to afford it. Whether you're 16 years old and you're just doing a babysitting job, or you're 30-something years old and you're bogged down with debt. And then if you need more in-depth student loan assistance, where I have to look at your documents and whatever, that's $15 per month. I make it very, very affordable. So take this opportunity, to really look at your life. If you're dealing with this student loan thing, or even if you're a young person or a parent of a young person or guardian of a young person who have children where they don't know what to do with themselves. They're 16, 17, 18, 20, not trying to do anything. Let them know there's someone here that's willing to listen to them. And it's not just me. My sisters also help me with this program. So, and we're all educated. Two of the others, one has a degree, a doctorate in educational counseling, and another one is in banking, and she has also a doctorate. And then my other sisters, they all have their masters in different fields. So if I can't come up with the answer, I have someone who can help you and be a sounding board. Sometimes you just need someone to talk to, just to vent, but encourage you at the same time. Okay, so that's what I wanted to leave with everyone. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. That's by Marie Curie.
Right. Definitely. All right. Well, we definitely thank you, Dr. Linda, for being our guest today. And guys, as I remarked last time we talked, it's just like ordering a 4 for $4 from Wendy's. It's very affordable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very affordable.
Take time to invest in yourself,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just buying clothes, big screen TVs, and so forth. Nothing wrong with that if you could afford it, of course, but invest in yourself by bettering who you are. And sometimes it's just getting educated, getting a mentor, some guidance and so forth. But I do want to thank you, Dini, for giving me this opportunity again. As soon as I decide to launch this student loan consultation program, let me get on Dini's show again, because he has an audience and they may want this service. So thank you.
No problem at all. Let them know where they can connect with you online.
Yeah, the mentorship site, it's Just Do It Afraid. Okay, it was 2 words, justdoitafraid.com. Okay, and if you have a question, some people, they prefer emailing me first to see, can you help me with this? Is there a program of, is this something you could help me, whatever. Just email me, info@justdoitafraid.com. Okay, and I usually respond within 12 to 24 hours.
And guys, just in case you need those links, if you didn't get them, you're on the go. I have those in the show notes and description of this episode. So all you got to do is click the links. As I mentioned earlier, they are hyperlinked. So from any platform that you listen to the podcast on, iHeartRadio, Spotify, you can click those links and it'll take you directly to the website. As well as on our website, if you click the email link, it'll pull up an email screen, whichever email service that you use on your phone or computer. You can email directly from that screen. So you don't have to sign into anything. Just shoot the email. It's easy peasy, lemon squeezy, just like that. Again, we like to thank Dr. Linda-Barthelus for being our special guest today.
Thank you, Dini. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, my Vigilantes family, as always, for checking out my podcast over here at Vigilantes Radio. All episodes are available for free download, and you can grab that from either Spreaker.com/Only One Media Group, iTunes, YouTube, any app that's on a Google Play or iTunes store, or our website. And that goes from every single episode that we've ever aired. If you'd like to request music or a particular guest or send something for me to play, email it to vradio@onlyonemediagroup.com. If it's music, please label it by artist and title. Here's my disclaimer. We are genre free, we do not judge, and we absolutely do not base our opinions on hearsay but facts alone. And actually, you can scratch all of that because all of my opinions are always right. That's the bottom line. This is my show, so deal with it. Nah, just kidding. On behalf of myself, Dini-Mussolini, I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, either afterwards or live with us. Spread the word because sharing is caring. We stepped up our game just for you guys and our guests to make sure that you have the best experience here on our show. Be sure to connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, as well as Spreaker. We always follow back. That is the #1 rule. Okay, well, just remember to be yourself and be absolutely great at just doing that. Avoid being too comfortable because you're messing with your potential when you do that. Peace and have a good night.
You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, the people's choice for quality interviews, art, music, and hot topics. Hosted by Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds of the duo No Longer the Hero. All episodes of this podcast are available for free download at www.onlyonemediagroup.com. This is a Seventh Sign Regime Rebirth Worldwide Syndicate exclusive.